are just admitting to the room. Please come in, Louis. Welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe, and tonight, all the way from Greece, we have Despina Ariou. Would you like to tell us a story or three, or four, or five?
First, Louis here. How could I not tell a story? And
over to you, Despina.
And Karen, whom we cannot see. I hope she can hear us now. Great. So good to see you guys. I'm very glad you're with me tonight. So, okay, I've been thinking of what kind of stories we could tell tonight. And I don't know, this is kind of, this season, autumn, it's getting chilly, and it's a little bit, sometimes my friends up in Scotland, they call this weather drich, which is a really good word to describe it. So it's not as drich here in Greece yet, but it just makes you think of a smoother season, like spring, for example. And spring is very well connected in our minds. Louis, can I ask you, when you think of spring, what picture pops into your mind?
Leaves.
Leaves. But green leaves in spring, and now in fall the leaves are orange and brown and golden, and they fall off the trees. This is another pretty sight. But apart from leaves being green, anything else you can think of, Louis? Maybe something with more colors. Very close to the green leaves. You can unmute and tell me if you like. Do you think I should ask Simona? Okay, so Simona, here is the thing. We have to find a picture connected with spring that has many, many colors and is very, very close to Louis's green leaves.
Flowers.
Hey, flowers. I hope you like flowers. I love flowers. And I had this tale once, and I really, really liked it, and I'd like to share it with you today, even though it's not flower time now, it's not flower season. I think that just thinking about flowers makes me feel nice. So here's the thing, you see. A long, long time ago, before John Rowe had his white beard, can you imagine how long that is? Well, before John Rowe even had a beard on his face, well, okay, I'll be honest with you. Before John Rowe had come into existence, yeah, that long ago. So let's say that it was the beginning of creation. And then the witches, the good ones, the creative forces we call witches, they had taken upon themselves to create every little being on the planet. On this particular day we're going to talk about, they were very concentrated on making different flowers. So they had already created roses, and they smelled so nice, and they had created carnations, and they had beautiful colors. And when it came to creating a new flower, what they did was they asked the being that was going to become a flower what sort of characteristics they would like to acquire, and those characteristics that the being picked would determine what sort of flower it would become. So we had rose cups and tulips and you name it, many, many flowers who were very, very determined as to what they wanted to become. So for witches, easy. But there was this one little being who could not decide. They did not know exactly what they wanted to be. They did not know what color they would like to have, or whether they would like to smell or not and have thorns or not. They were not very sure yet. So the witches decided to give that particular being a little more time to decide, to make up their mind. And the being looked around it at the creation, and it was early dawn, and as dawn was breaking in the horizon, the sunbeams came and they penetrated the clouds with the red and fuchsia and golden beams, and it was a wonder to look at. And a little while later, up from the horizon came the bright yellow sky. And as it moved further along up in the sky and it reached its peak, that little being, that was not a flower yet, picked up its little neck and looked at the sun in the eye. And it said, "Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, how I'd like to look like that." And pardon, some time passed. And then the sun set on the other side of the horizon. And then it was dusk. And slowly, slowly, the sky started turning from light blue to dark blue to dark, dark blue, and then black. And as the sky became black, and the little being looked up in the sky again, it could see from the same point that the sun had risen in the morning, out coming another bright light in the sky. And as it moved further up in the sky towards its peak, the being could see that it was round and silver and bright, and sometimes you could see a face on it. Other times you could see a bunny or a rabbit or a hare. And it was so beautiful. And as it moved further along in the sky, the being thought, "Oh, that's so beautiful. I wish I could be silver and bright like that." And as that thing moved in the sky, the great big silver moon, and moved towards its setting, out came little bright sparkling diamonds up in the sky, and the being looked around it, and they were everywhere. And the being saw thought, "Oh, oh, this is so, so pretty. If only I could look like that." And then more time passed, and it was morning again. And the witches came, the witches that would finish making the flowers on that particular day. And that was the last being that had to determine what kind of flower it would be. So they asked the little being, "Have you decided what you want to look like?" And the being said, "Oh, it's so hard to make a choice. You see, first thing I saw in the morning was a bright yellow sun, and I thought that this was the most wonderful thing I had ever seen in my life, and I really want to look like the sun." But then the sun set, and out came the silver moon, and it moved up in the sky, and it was so bright, silvery white. And then I thought that I would like to be like the moon. And when the moon moved further away in the sky, I could see sparkling little diamonds everywhere. And then I thought, these must be the stars. And I really wished, in the deepest, deepest part of my heart, oh, if I could be like the stars. So you see, I have a really tough choice. And then the witches, they stepped away a little bit, and they made a circle, and they put their arms around each other, and they started whispering to each other. And then they all nodded, and they went back to that little being. And they said, you know what? This is your lucky day. You don't have to decide to be just one thing. If you want, we can make you be all three. And the being said, oh, yes, 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 please do this for me. And the witches spread their hands, and they murmured and chanted secret words in witchy language. And soon you had the ground and a seed in it, and out from the ground came a little sprout. And as the sun moved up in the sky, it had a little bud on the side, at the edge, which started opening up towards the sky. And it looked like it was reflecting the bright sun, because it was yellow with little leaves, as if they were sunbeams. And then later on in the being's life, it changed. And when the moon came out at night in the sky, the yellow leaves changed color, and they became silvery white. And as the moon moved further away, the little being changed for a third time, when it could see all the bright colors, all the bright little lights sparkling in the sky, and its white leaves turned into stems with each one a little tiny thing at the edge that looked like a little diamond. And at that phase in its life, I don't know if you've done it, I have. I never plucked it because I wanted it to stay alive, but I gently touched its stem and softly blew at it, and all the little stars would spread around. And this is how nowadays we have that glorious flower I truly love, and it's called the daffodil. Or dandelion. That's right, Simona. Correct. They both belong to the Narcissus greatest genre, and they're so beautiful flowers. And now, after this little tale about beautiful, beautiful flowers, I think you might need to sharpen your mind a little bit with a riddle. I love riddles. Are you ready? Ready to put your mind at work? Okay. If anybody finds it, please raise your hand, either your physical hand or your Zoom hand, whatever you like. So here it comes. I'm sometimes fluffy, but I'm not a bunny. I can look like a mushroom, but I'm not eaten. I can drop water on you, but I'm not a shower. I'm in the sky, but I'm not a bird. I can cover the sun, But I'm not the moon. What am I? Okay, and here's the same riddle, but in rhyme. I am something you see in the sky. You'll need more hints though, so I'll explain. I'm sometimes fluffy and sometimes gray, and can release snow, hail, or rain. What am I? Fluffy white things in the sky. Could they be sheep? Could they be cotton? And rain comes from them? An idea? I can see Simona nodding. I think she found it. Look, should I ask Simona, do you think? Do you want me to repeat the riddle? Here it comes. I am something you see in the sky. You'll need more hints, though, so I'll explain. I'm sometimes fluffy and sometimes gray and can release snow, hail, or rain. What am I?
A cloud.
Yay! Well done. Thank you, Louis. You know, there are some people who just have their head in the cloud. Well, clouds are beautiful to look at. I don't know if you've ever done this. I really, really like just lying down somewhere I can, if there's grass or sand underneath my body, that's better, and look up in the sky at the white formations, and then I try to imagine what they look like. Do you do that? Yes, it's a very nice activity. And a very nice thing to do, unless you do it all the time. Because that's exactly what the boy in this story did. You see, there was a widow, and she lived with her little son. And her son, let's call him Louis today. Why not? Her son Louis, who lived with his mom, truly loved his mom, and he did everything his mom told him to. A very good boy. And he did his homework and he did everything he was told inside the house. But when he was outdoors, into his mom's garden, he only looked up in the sky. He would not pay any attention to what was around him, not the beautiful flowers, not the roses and the carnations and the dandelions and the daffodils. He would just look up in the sky, even though sometimes he would tread on his mom's strawberries, the ones she had put so much effort to plant. And on this particular day in the tale, as usual, that boy, Louis, he was walking in the garden, looking up in the sky, when all of a sudden he heard a little voice. Hey, you, which way you're going, will you? For the first time, Louis turned and looked downward, and there he could see this tiny little man. Looked exactly like a normal man, a bit like John Roll because he had a long beard, not that hat though. He had a green beanie, and he was clad in green. And Louis looked at him and said, "Well, you shouldn't be underneath my feet. What were you doing there? It's not my fault. You weren't looking where you were going. Why are you looking at the sky all the time?" "I'm looking at the sky because I can see the fluffy, fleecy clouds." And I'd really like to be up there. You'd like to be up there? Well, there's nothing up there. Yes, yes, I would really like to be up there. Sure, you would like to be up there. I'm telling you, there's nothing up there. Are you sure you would like to go up there? Oh, I'll do anything to go up there. If that's the case, Louis, said the little man and moved his finger around. Louis, Louis, Louis. And Louis shrunk and shrunk and shrunk until he was the same size as that little man. I can get you up there, said the little man, but you'll have to do something for me. Anything you want, anything you want. I'll do anything for you if you can get me up there in the sky. I want up. Okay, then, look, said the little man, and he grabbed a leaf, and with his fingers, he made it look like a little boat. Jump in, he said to Louis, and Louis jumped inside, and it looked like a canoe now, this little leaf. The man said, I will tell you what. This boat can take you up in the sky, but you will have to do something for me. Yes, yes, I'll do anything for you. What do you want me to do? You have to find something for me. I'll find anything you need. Listen carefully. You listen now, Louis. It's very important. It is red without. It is white within. It's got golden dots upon its skin. It's sharp sometimes, but often sweet. You must travel till we meet. This is what I want you to get for me. Will you look for it? Yes, yes, I will look for it everywhere. Okay, then. Repeat after me. Just let me know that you know what you're looking for. Are you ready, guys? Are you ready to help Louis remember? Okay, here it goes. 1, 2, 3. It is red without. It is white within. It's got golden dots upon its skin. It's sharp sometimes, but often sweet. Louis must travel till we meet. I remember it. I do. I will look for it. I will find it for you and bring it back to you. I promise. Okay, then. Off you are. And Louis said to his leaf, which had been turned into a boat, little boat, fly me high, take me far into the sky, and whoop, the leaf, the boat with Louis inside, started floating upwards and upwards and upwards towards the sky, and it entered the clouds, and it flew above the clouds and into the starry sky and into the Milky Way. And Louis looked outside his little boat, downwards from his little leaf, and he said, red without, white within, golden dots upon its skin, sharp sometimes, but often sweet. We must travel till we meet. But even though he looked and looked, he could not find anything anywhere. And a lot of time elapsed until Louis got bored of looking for something he couldn't find up there in the sky. And then he turned to his leaf and he said, little leaf, I don't want to roam. Please, little leaf, now take me home. And soon, whoop, the little leaf dipped down and down and down and down until it reached Louis' mama's garden. And there it landed, and Louis stepped off. And there was a little man. Louis, you're back. Yes, I'm back. It was lovely flying up there. Thank you very much. But I couldn't find the thing you asked me to. Louis, you promised, didn't you? I did, I promised, and I swear I looked for it everywhere, but I couldn't find it. Louis, said the little man, and started moving his finger around the other way now, and Louis got bigger and bigger and bigger until it was this same Louis you can see now from the camera, this size, a normal boy. And the little man, clad in green, looked up and said, Louis, look down. And Louis looked down, and there at his feet was his mama's bush. And on the bush was a beautiful strawberry. And the little man picked it up and he said, look, it's red without, it's white within, golden dots upon its skin, sharp sometimes, but often sweet. You have traveled till we meet. And gave Louis that strawberry. And Louis, he had a bite, and it was really juicy and really tasty. In fact, it was the most tasty strawberry he had ever tasted in his life. And he said, oh, thank you, thank you. I couldn't find it up there in the sky. Well, I told you, there's nothing up there, didn't I? Maybe now you'll keep an eye here on Earth. And with that, poof, the little man was out of sight. And Louis, after having eaten that beautiful strawberry, he thought that maybe it was not a good idea to have his head in the clouds all the time. It's okay to dream some. We have to have dreams. But we shouldn't be wasting our time here on Earth. This thing, this reality we're living in, this has its own value as well. And ever since that time, Louis was ever so careful when he stepped outside on his mommy's garden, and he never, ever treaded on her strawberries again. Here comes David. So, now, I found this little poem. Well, not little, really, but this one addresses not Louis this time, but young ladies. We don't have very young ladies other than Simona with us today. So Simona, that means that this poem is for you. But now you will allow me to shed a little bit more light because I don't have my reading glasses with me. So I will pretend I'm as young as Simona and read this way for you. It is a poem from Becky Hemsley, who's a lovely poet, and she puts several things, several pieces of writing online for people to read and enjoy. And I asked for her permission to share this with you today, and she very gracefully granted it. So here comes the poem from Becky Hemsley. This is for the princess who is trapped up in the tower. You think you have no cards to play, no leverage or power, because you've read the books that start with once upon a time. And so you're waiting till a handsome prince comes riding by. You're hoping that your beauty is enough to see you through, that he will see a pretty face and fall in love with you. Well, let me tell a secret, you see. I thought like this. I thought that thin or pretty would deliver true love's kiss. So I craved a certain number in the clothes that I would wear. I modified my makeup and the way I wore my hair. But it's not quite as simple as they make it out in the books. True love is not determined by our bodies or our looks. You see, your real beauty is not wrapped up in what you weigh. Your face may bring you suitors, but it will not make them stay. What will is all your courage and the way your heart is kind, your spirit, your adventure, and the way you speak your mind. But none of that will matter until you can see your worth. The truest love you'll ever know is loving yourself first. So buy your own glass slippers and take yourself to the ball. Then sing and dance as if nobody else is there at all. Let others crave the beauty that is wrapped within your soul. You're waiting to be rescued just because that's what you've been told. But with your heart and spirit, you don't need anyone else. So let your hair down, princess, and go and save yourself. Well, of course, Simona, I addressed the poem to you because you're a young lady among us, even though I know you don't need to hear it, but maybe other of our friends do. And this poem, this has brought another tale to my mind. I was not sure which one I'd tell for the last one today, but now I think I know. There once was a princess, and she was beautiful, and she was young, and she was rich, and she had loads of servants to cover her every need, to dress her up and do her hair and make up her face and put on her shoes. She wouldn't do anything for herself. She just had everything done for her. But she didn't care. She was so happy because she was betrothed. She was engaged to be married to an equally handsome prince from a neighboring kingdom. Until one day, a great big shadow covered the sky, and it seemed to be covering the sun, and everything darkened. And before people knew it, they could see this great big dragon flying over their village. And it was a terrible disaster. It raided the town, and it slew the cattle, and it ate and even ate some of the people. And what the dragon didn't eat, it burned. It was terrible, terrible. The only one who survived was the princess. She didn't even know how. But when she looked around her, she could see that everything had been burned. All her pretty clothes, all her pretty shoes, there was nothing. And from the window, she saw that shadow fly away, but she could make out in the distance something even more horrid, because at the dragon's claws, she could see that he had taken the prince with him. Now that did it. It was okay not to have dresses and not to have shoes, but her fiancé, she was not having that. She looked around and she picked things up, but the only thing she could find was a paper bag. Well, she could use that. She just tore two pieces at the sides and then one piece at the center, and she pulled it over her head and she wore it like a dress. And wearing that paper bag, she stepped out of the palace and took the same path she had seen the dragon fly at, and she followed that trail up on the mountain where she knew the dragon's lair would be. Up and up the path she went until she reached the cave. And okay, you will not be expecting this, but this dragon seemed to be somewhat civilized because there was a door in front of the cave. So she went there and she knocked on the door, and she heard a growl from the inside. And she waited. And a little while later, the door started opening up, and she could see two huge nostrils coming outside the door. Where is this? Oh, princess, it's you. So nice of you to come here for me to have another bite. But I have had enough today. I'm full. I have not even eaten the prince. I cannot eat anymore. Go away. And slam! He closed the door to the princess's face. But the princess, she was resolved, so she knocked on the door again and waited. And she heard another growl from within, and the door opened up a little bit again, and that same nostril face came out, and you again. I told you, I don't want to eat anymore today. But as the dragon was ready to close the door, she put her foot between the door and the hinges, and she said, excuse me, Mr. Dragon, it's just, I would like to ask you a question. You're so big and so mighty and so strong. Yes, I am, said the dragon, and with that, the door opened up entirely, and the dragon crawled outside. She waited until his enormous tail was out of the lair, and then she continued. She said, Mr. Dragon, I was admiring your flight today, and you know, I just wanted to ask you, it's just a question, I hope you don't mind. I've heard that dragons like you, so big and strong, can fly very far away. I've heard that you can cover very large distances in a very short time. And I needed to ask, is this true? Well, of course it is true. I don't know what you've heard of other dragons, but me, I am the mightiest dragon out there. Nobody, no other dragon can fly faster than me. Really? Said the princess. Please pardon my asking, but this is not just big talk, is it? What? No! You watch me now, the dragon said. Then he spread his huge wings with a big flap, and flap, 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 whoosh, was up into the sky, and the princess could see him fly and disappear into the horizon. And she waited, and she counted up to 60 because she knew that was how long a minute was, and another time up to 62 minutes, and another time up to 63 minutes. And when 10 minutes had passed, she saw that big creature fly backwards towards where she was standing, and it landed and gathered its wings. Princess, I have flown all over your kingdom. Really, Mr. Dragon? Oh, well done, but you know, I don't have a very big kingdom. I mean, yeah, okay, of course, it was just 10 minutes you were gone, but you know, there are bigger kingdoms than mine. Do you think that maybe in the same time you could cover even larger a distance? Of course I can. I told you already, I'm the mightiest dragon out there. You just watch now. And spread his wings and whoosh, up he was in the sky. And the princess could see him, and she counted 61, 62, 63 minutes, 10 minutes. And upon the 10th minute, she could see that huge, enormous serpent flying backwards, landing in front of her. Princess, do you see me flying? Yes, yes, Mr. Dragon, I did. Where did you go? Well, I flew over the whole continent. What did? You know, okay, this is Europe. Yeah. Okay, continent, yes, but I mean, there are larger ones. I mean, there is Africa, or there is Asia. Do you think you could cover such a large distance in the same time frame? Well, of course I could. You just watch now. And whoosh, up he was in the sky. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes. Back again, landing in front of your feet. Princess flew over Europe and Asia and Africa and came back here. Really, Mr. Dunn? Wow. Well, that's a great big difference. Indeed, you must be the mightiest dragon out there. I think you're right. And you know what? I noticed that other than flying, you have another asset. I mean, I could see your fire breathing while you were flying and burning my little town. And we are surrounded by a forest here. How much of a forest do you think you could burn in one breath? Little presence, you've seen nothing. What I did to your town was nothing. Look at this now. And he inhaled, and his belly blew, and out came the largest flame the princess had ever seen, and all that forest was gone within minutes. Wow, she said, that's really impressive. I'm getting a little bit cold here on the mountain, and I was wondering, do you think you could just blow a little bit, and this wood I have gathered here on our feet, could you just light it up for a little bit so I can have a nice warm fire and be warm while I watch you do your great things? And the dragon inhaled, and okay, a little bit of black smoke because he had used up all his breathing fire. That's okay now. I'm a bit tired from all the traveling you had me do. I think I'll just take a nap now so I can digest all the food I've had, and then I can eat that prince and you as dessert, he said. And he coiled around and put his head upon his front paws and started snoring loudly. And when the princess saw that, she was very cautious. She said, Mr. Dragon, hey, Mr. Dragon. No response. Mr. Dragon? Not even an eye blink. She picked up the floppy ear and opened up his ear and, Mr. Dragon! She yelled inside, but nothing came from the dragon other than his loud snoring. So now the princess, she was ready. She stepped backwards towards the cave and entered it, and in the dim light, she could see a figure in the back. And when her eyes became accustomed to that semi-light, she could see the glistening hair of her prince and the glistening smile of his teeth, which turned into a frown as he had a better look at her. And he said, "Princess, is that you? What is that you're wearing? Is that a bag? Oh God, I cannot even look at that. Please go away and go tend to your appearance. And when you look like a decent princess, please come back and save me." The princess. The princess's face changed many colors, which was invisible to the prince because of the dim light of the cave. But she held her composure and she said, "My dear prince, indeed, I am wearing a paper bag because everything else has been burnt. And I am here to save you because you got caught by the dragon. And even though you have the nicest hair and the prettiest smile any decent prince would claim as their own, and you look like a very decent prince, your behavior is like that of the worst bum. I'm leaving now, and if you can, save yourself." And with that, she turned on her heel, walked out the door, tiptoed next to the dragon, returned to her palace. And now, to be honest, these two never got married, but she lived happily ever after. And I've got a little poem to finish us with, if that's okay. It's a poem that is suitable for kids and teenagers and adults, and especially our friends in Gaza. It's called "Don't Quit." When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is strange with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a failure comes about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt, and you never can tell just how close you are. It may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit. For all the sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these: it might have been. Big kiss to all the people who do not want war. From the heart.
That Despina, that was a fantastic session. Love the paper bag princess. Loved it all. What have we got coming up? Sunday. Sunday is a very special Sunday. We've got a worldwide story round at 6 o'clock. Then as that finishes between 7 and 7:30, we go over to Gary Cordingley and his crew with Mad for the Road and with Far Side Tales and they're raising money for the earthquake appeal in Morocco, which has gone way down in the headlines around the world, but they're still up in the mountains. They still desperately need help. So that's Sunday. So that's going to be really exciting. Tuesday is our Young Tellers, and that is now an hour earlier, 4 o'clock UK and Irish time. So if anyone is in touch with Kenza, they can let her know, or Manuela or Simona or one of you, someone on that side of Europe. And then Friday we have the amazing Mia, who's telling stories for children. First time with her own program, which I didn't realize it was the first time until I was looking through to put her stuff up and realized that, but thank you, we've got it. I've sent it to Yulia, and so it's sort of not Yulia, Waleed. I'm in the wrong country. I nearly went to Romania then instead of Marrakesh. So that's Friday, 6 o'clock. And then the following Tuesday, of course, we've got the Worldwide Tellers. Then after that, on the 1st, I think he's probably fast asleep right now, but I've got written in my diary that a certain David Heathfield on the 1st of December. So we've got loads of stuff going on. But see as many of you as possible on Sunday, wherever you're listening. Meanwhile, Waleed, thank you for flying the magic carpet. Despina, thank you for fantastic tales. And thank you all for coming and listening and watching. See you
Thank
Sunday.
you.
Bye.
Big kiss. Peace.
Thanks, Despina.
Well, I probably won't see you Sunday. I'll be down. I'm at a poetry reading, but I'll see. I'll watch it and catch up. Okay, bye.
Peace.